This video is going to be helpful for you if you are somebody who you yourself, or there is somebody that you know and hold really dear who is trying to fall pregnant, become pregnant, make a baby, and they're doing all the right things. You're doing all the right things, but you just cannot seem to you can't seem to make it work. So I'll read this question in a moment and then I'm going to pull it apart in depth. But this video is not going to be the best use of everyone's time. The people that it's going to be the most use for is you are trying to fall pregnant and you are somebody who knows that human design can help with all these other areas of your life. And you're really curious if there's something that you could know from an energetic perspective that is making it difficult for you to conceive. So the question that was asked was actually framed in the was asked by a projector and was framed about projectors. But as I read through it, I was like, this actually applies to almost everyone. So I'm going to read the question out. But if you're not a projector, but you're trying to fall pregnant, bear with us because you'll see why soon. Okay, so they've said, I have a question about projectors becoming parents. And there's a lot of things in this question. So I'm actually going to speak to various different things, but they all have to do with conceiving or parenting. I'm curious if in your coaching practice you have seen two projectors being able to make a baby. I'm asking because on a mechanical level, neither of them has the sacral defined, or maybe it happens that when they become a generator in their composite chart, like maybe they're able to make a baby when they become a generator, they've said. And do you have some advice for projectors who want to become parents? So first things first, a generator or a manifesting generator. Now, so this video might be a little bit over the heads of those of you who are very, very new to human design. So if I share concepts that are too difficult for you to understand, there's one of two things you can do. But if you want to really understand this topic, you can either go and binge some of my more entry-level beginner stuff on the platform and then come back to this video when you have some more knowledge. Or if you've got the budget, just book a coaching session and I can teach you everything from like zero beginner all the way through that's specifically relevant to you. But assuming that you know some of the things that I'm about to talk about, that will mean that this can be a 15 or 20 minute video instead of a 2-hour masterclass on becoming pregnant. So I'm going to jump to the short version, assuming that you have some of that prerequisite knowledge. So it is a common misunderstanding that for us to conceive as human beings, that we need to have a generator body, like that we need to be a generator or a manifesting generator, or as this person has pointed to, that maybe we need two non-sacral beings, so two projectors or a projector and a manifestor, or a manifestor and a reflector, right? So those who do not have a defined sacral, that when they come together in their composite chart, which is just when you take two people's charts and you lay them one over the top of the other, that their definition creates definition within the sacral center. Now, that isn't true. What you need in order to do the work of raising children sustainably is you need that access to sacral energy to do that sustainably, but you don't need that energy to conceive babies in the first place, right? And I'm sure that you can think of people who are very good at making babies but aren't very good at raising them, right? Maybe they are very, very good at falling pregnant, but they don't necessarily have the energy or the desire to care for those children. That's unfortunate, but it can definitely happen. And there is a very specific channel that Ra talked about. Ra talked about the 59-6 that connects the sacral to the solar plexus as the energy for conceiving babies. 59-6, right? So what you actually need, according to Ra, and I have played with this in my practice, is you need that whole channel defined in order to make babies. Now, have I seen this in there's a couple of different things I want to say here. You could be a generator and a manifesting generator, two partners, and you could have this channel undefined, right? So you could have the sacral defined in both of you and still not have definition in that channel because the definition could come some other way, right? So that couple could still struggle to conceive if they're not picking up the energy of other people. And we're going to talk about this as your hack, your way to fall pregnant, if that's what you really want. Now, I'll give you another example. You can have, and this does happen, two non-sacral beings where one has the 59 and the other one has the 6. So when they come together, they can make babies easily. Now, because pregnancy and conceiving and making babies and all of those sorts of things is not the primary focus of my practice, I haven't attracted a lot of people going, Carolyn, can you help me fall pregnant with human design? However, it happened that a long-term friend of mine who came to me as a client many, many years ago with her husband, I did a paired reading with her and her husband. And a few years later, when she had told me, hey, Carolyn, we're doing everything right. They're two very, very healthy people. She's a projector. Her husband is a generator. Super healthy. So they're doing all the right things. His zinc levels are great. Their stress levels were great. They, super, super healthy people, eat really clean, exercise every day, but they could not fall pregnant. They were doing everything they were told by Western medicine, by naturopaths. They couldn't fall pregnant. And I said, let's just look at your charts and see what's going on. Lo and behold, they had the entire 59-6 channel undefined. And I said, we need to go and get you some conception energy. So at first I was looking up the planetary transits and seeing if we could time it with that. And then I thought, that's not the smartest way to do this. They already had several friends in their community that they'd looked up the human design charts. I'm like, go and look up your friends' charts and see who has the 59-6 energy, and then invite them to all come and hang out at your house for a few days. Like, have a party at your house for a few days around when you're ovulating, then have sex, then you're much more likely to fall pregnant. So they ended up constructing this party with friends of theirs. But what they did on the way through was they had to go via New York City. Now, she later told me that she worked out that she fell pregnant the night that they were in New York City. Because if you are in a big city, you cannot escape the auras of other people, right? Which means you can borrow this 59-6 energy. So whether or not you need the entire channel between you, or you only need one or the other, right? You can go and borrow that. So the benefit of doing it in, like, just going and placing yourself in a really big city where people are crammed in together is you don't have to tell anybody what you're doing. You could go and spend an entire day in a busy cafe or on packed out trains. And then for a little while, you're still going to be carrying that energy. But if you're trying to conceive, even better if you are sleeping in close quarters with lots of other strangers, because you're far more likely to be able to fall pregnant, right? So that's the what do you do? Now, I want to just check in this question whether or not there was anything else. Now, have I seen in my practice two projectors being able to make a baby? Again, because I do this particular work so infrequently, I haven't attracted two projectors going, Carolyn, help me make a baby. But I am sure that if I polled my community, I could find a projector with another projector who have managed to make babies. I am 100% confident of it. So it is not about having to make generator energy together. Now, I also want to be clear on something. If you're learning more about the mechanics of human design, just because you put two non-sacral beings together doesn't mean that you will automatically get a defined sacral. I'm a good example of this. I'm a projector. My partner is a manifestor. When you put our two energies together, we still have an undefined sacral, right? And we have the entire 59-6 channel undefined. Now, there's another thing that I want to say here. It has occurred to me that if I really wanted to take this to the extreme, that I could use our lack of 59-6 energy as a tool to avoid falling pregnant, right? As birth control. And I want to encourage you not to do this. Your life, you take responsibility for you. But while it felt really good and safe and low risk for me to take Ra's teachings around the 59-6 and encourage my friends, previous clients, to go and suck up the energy of other people in confined spaces so that they can fall pregnant, which worked beautifully. And when they went to have their second child and they were doing all the same things and they'd forgotten about this piece, I reminded my girlfriend of the way she felt pregnant the first time. And I was like, can you just go have another house party? So they did. It required them going via New York City. And again, they fell pregnant very easily once they took the right steps because they were doing all the other things right. But what I'm not willing to do and what I want to be really encouraging of you to do is if you are somebody who does not want to fall pregnant and is still capable of falling pregnant, do not rely on this as birth control. I do not, because I don't feel confident enough that this is something that we can rely on. But it feels low risk enough to use it as another way that you could potentially fall pregnant. And I love the fact that that worked so beautifully for my girlfriend across, the other side of the world. And not only that she was able to do it once, but twice, right? Now, there's one more thing on here about advice for projectors wanting to become parents. And I want to just reinforce at this point in time, and I should have said it right at the beginning, I am not a medical doctor. This is not medical advice. Please use at your own discretion with playfulness. With playfulness, all right? And this is not to say that you could use the 59-6 energy and try and fall pregnant when you're not ovulating. Like, you need to put these together with things, right? So, the woman in this partnership needs to be ovulating. And obviously, I am talking about this configuration of a man and a woman having natural sex. You obviously need to completely play with how this might make sense to you if you are not a male and female configuration, because I know there's lots of different ways that we can make babies in 2025. But also, if you're doing things like, if your stress levels are through the roof, your body is going to go, this is not a safe time to have a baby. If your nutrition profile, like if your diet is rubbish and your vitamins and minerals are like super low, you may also not have the necessary components on a physical level to be able to create a baby, right? So do make sure that you're doing all these other things. And then if you know that you are doing all the right things and your doctors can't work out why you're not falling pregnant, especially if it's like, we tried everything, now we need to go down the IVF route, please try this first. You might be surprised. Now, it's a little bit of a sidestep from this question, but, and hi there in the chat, I do find it fascinating as well. And super fun to just, I've still got I've got photos of my girlfriend and their babies on the wall, and it's just like, yay, making babies, great. Happy, healthy babies that are raised according to their human design. Thank you very much. Okay, so the last thing that this person has said is, do you have some advice for projectors who want to become parents? So assuming that we've talked about all of these things of how to actually conceive parents, and this can be its whole own video. In fact, tell me if you would like a video on this, is please recognize that if you are two projectors or you are two non-sacral beings. Now, there can be so many different configurations because you can have a projector that has 8 defined centers, and they're going to cope much better than a projector who only has 2 non-motorized centers defined, okay? So there is a lot of scope. You can also have manifestors who only have 2 centers defined, or you can have a manifestor that has 8 centers defined. So, if you have a reflector and a mental projector, for example, who have a baby, there is not a lot of energy to raise this child. So what I'm really clear on is 2 things. One, if you are a projector, regardless of who you're partnered with, if it's really clear to you that you want to have a baby and it is so important to you and your inner authority says yes, and you have a partner that loves you and you've been invited into the opportunity to make a baby and it feels like a really clear yes, please don't listen to anybody who says, any non-sacral beings are not built to have babies. It's a challenge, yes. Can you do it? Yes. But you will need, depending on how much definition you have in your chart and what other energy centers you have that you can pull on to raise this child, you are just going to need some more support, right? And it's very, very different. When I think about, there's a girlfriend of mine who wants to have a baby soon. She's a projector with 4 or 5, I'm trying to imagine her chart here, 4 or 5 centers defined, and her partner would love to have children, and he's a manifesting generator, and he would be the most hands-on dad ever, right? That's a pretty different configuration to, actually, I can think of a mentor of mine who is a not very heavily defined projector, and her partner is a reflector, right? So the way they have to do parenting is very different and they need to draw on more people. So if you are a projector, and especially if you're a projector with a non-sacral partner, please enter into parenthood with a really clear plan of the other ways that you're going to get support. Can you spend a little bit of time building up your network so that you have neighbors and friends and family, and finding out where are the local community groups, parent groups, who else can you get in to come and do some of the work of raising your child or children with you, who you love them, you trust them, they're on the same page as you about how you want to raise your children, because you're not built to do this the same way with the same ease as, say, 2 generator or manifesting generator partners who want nothing more than to have babies. Okay, so you just have to approach the whole situation with a little bit more preparation and a realization that you shouldn't try and keep up with those mums that you see who do all the things, because that's not how you're built. Okay, if you have any further questions about this, I welcome questions on anything related to human design where you feel like you want to know what I specifically would say. You know that you don't need, that I wouldn't need your chart specifically in order to answer it, that it's a more general question like this one was, like, projector and having babies, or how to fall pregnant. You're always welcome to ask that in comments below these videos. And if I feel like it would make a good general video for the community, then I'm happy to add it to the list.